Hey everyone, welcome back to StampCat Stamps, my channel where I share with you the things that I learned from my stamp collection. The topic of today's episode is Remembrance Day. This is a day that we observe in Canada every year on November 11th. We remember the soldiers who have fought for our country. Canada has a long history of issuing stamps for Remembrance Day, but here's the one that I wanted to focus on. This stamp was issued by Canada in 1968 to commemorate John McCrae on the 50th anniversary year of his death. Next to his portrait, we see an excerpt from the poem he wrote, In Flanders Fields, which reads, "In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row." One of the customs that we have to observe Remembrance Day is that everyone will wear a poppy, either on their lapel or on their coat. And I'm going to share with you my first experience learning about the poppy. The truth is, I didn't always live in Canada. I was born here, but when I was 5, we moved to the States. I lived in Indiana up until I was 16, and then we moved back to Canada and we moved to the city of Guelph. So I was promptly enrolled in a Canadian high school, and that is when my formal Canadian education began. Here comes the month of November, and suddenly everyone is wearing a poppy on their coat. I was in physics class. I turned to the guy sitting next to me and I whispered, "Hey, how come everyone is wearing this red flower on their coat?" He says, "Hold on a minute, hold on." And he raised his hand. And I thought, okay, I guess he has a quick question about physics. He doesn't want to forget his question. The teacher calls on him and he says, "Listen to this question that this new girl from America just asked me. She wants to know why everyone is wearing a red poppy on their coat." As you can imagine, that was pretty embarrassing, but the teacher was really good. He took it all in stride. He paused the physics lesson and he said, "Who can explain to Lisa why we all wear a poppy?" And so my classmates told me the tradition of wearing a poppy is actually based off a poem by a soldier and a physician named John McCrae. And he's actually from Guelph, which is where I was sitting in high school. He served in the First World War providing medical care, and as he was serving there, he wrote a poem called In Flanders Fields. It kind of made the poppy a symbol of remembrance, remembering our soldiers and remembering our veterans. This year, my city of Cambridge is actually doing something special. They've actually hung up a lot of poppy installations, so I'll take you around my town and show you some of those. Flanders Fields is located in Belgium. Poppy flowers were considered weeds that would sometimes appear in farmers' fields. However, there were really not too many poppies in this region until the Great War. Poppies need a lot of churned up soil to grow properly, and the muddy trenches of the war front made the best conditions for their growth. The constant churning of the soil by men, horses, and then fertilization from their deaths caused an overabundance of poppy growth. This sea of red flowers was the inspiration for John McCrae's poem, which he wrote while serving in the war on the same day that he attended a funeral for a friend that he had just lost in the fighting. Also, like I mentioned, John McCrae was from Guelph, and his house is actually a museum now, and we can go in and have a look, and it is actually right there. John McCrae was born to a Scottish Presbyterian family and lived here in this home. After finishing high school in Guelph, he went to medical school at University of Toronto. Right before he graduated, he experienced active duty for the first time when he enlisted in the Boer War, or South African War, with the Royal Canadian Artillery. After returning home, he practiced medicine in Montreal for many years before enlisting with the Canadian Army Medical Corps in 1914. He composed Flanders Fields in May of 1915, and eventually he died from pneumonia in 1918 while still in service in France. Throughout his entire life, he had a long-term interest in writing poetry, short stories, and wrote frequent letters to his mom. I just want to point out the cover shown on this poppy wall. It's showing a 1948 USA stamp of Moina Michael, also known as the Poppy Lady. After reading John McCrae's poem, she had the idea to use actual physical poppies as a symbol of remembrance. She started wearing a poppy and also went to work selling silk poppies to try and raise funds for disabled veterans. It's because of her work that it eventually took off as an official symbol of remembrance. I also stopped by the post office in Guelph and picked up the new 2021 Canada Post issue Remembrance Poppy stamp. I was really intrigued to learn that each country that celebrates Remembrance Day has a slightly different looking poppy. I didn't know that. This one is of course the Canadian Remembrance Poppy. So I hope you enjoyed looking around the museum. I did end up getting some postcards from there that I will show you. Two of them have John McCrae. He was actually quite a personality. They say he was a very funny, kind of humorous guy. One that shows the house, and then one that has a copy of the In Flanders Fields poem. So thanks for joining me on today's episode. I now know that Remembrance Day is observed in all of the Commonwealth countries. So if you're watching this and you're in Canada or you're in a Commonwealth country or the UK, you're probably already quite familiar with what the poppy represents. But I just thought I'd share because I know it was all news to me when I moved here from the States. I didn't know anything about poppies or why everyone was wearing them. So that's it for today. Maybe you learned something new, maybe you already knew everything. I also just want to end by saying thank you to everyone who's ever served their country. Without them and without their bravery and sacrifice, we really wouldn't have all of the freedoms that we have today. Everyone enjoy your Remembrance Day. Spend some time in reflection. As always, stay safe and stay curious. Bye.